Hello guys, what's up and welcome to the new tutorial from the SketchUpArchStudio. In this tutorial, I'm going to share how we can create some super realistic renders with Enscape 3.5.6 for SketchUp. Let's get to work. So this is the simple villa design in here, which you can see. So I'm going to start my job with using new update, which related to denoiser. So I'm going to click on the general setting in here. And you can click on the NVIDIA Global Illumination Denoiser. It helps you to create more clear renders. So I'm going to turn it on, and if you use the ray tracing systems, you can turn on the ray tracing modes for better and realistic renders. So I'm going to click on the Start Enscape in here. It will take a little bit time, and after that Enscape will generate for us. So in this tutorial, we will talk about batch rendering. So what is the batch rendering and how we can use it in multi-type of shots and rendering projects? So it's very simple and easy, and I'm going to show you how we can work with it. First of all, this is the environment that we have in Enscape. I set out all the materials, textures, and all the settings which related to the hyper-realistic render. So now I want to test it out. First of all, I need to create my camera. So I'm going to click on the F on my keyboard, and view management will be available for us. So I'm going to click on the create view in here, hold right click, orbit in my environment. For example, maybe some type of shot like that can be really wonderful for me. So I'm going to set it out in here. Don't worry about the setting, only set your camera out. The name of it is Enscape scene number 1. Coordinate is not really important, pitch area is not really important, and I don't want to save Enscape some position. So remember to uncheck it and click on the create option. Next item related to the my second camera. So I'm going to orbit in my environment like that, for example, something like this, and click on the create view in here, and Enscape scene 2 generated for me. I don't want to save Enscape some position, and I'm going to click on the create. So when I click on the Enscape scene number 1, I can say this view and another one and this view. So we have two ways for rendering. Number 1 is related to the screenshot, which I talked about it many times in previous tutorials on my YouTube channel, and you can watch it. But another option is related to batch rendering. So if I click on the batch rendering in here, I can select both of these images and click on the render images, and I can select one folder on my desktop, for example, desktop. I'm going to click on the select folder. You need to create some folders. For example, I want to create some new folder which name is renders, and I'm going to select it, select folder, and Enscape scene 1 plus Enscape scene 2 will be generated for me as the batch render automatically, one after another, and it helps you to create more fast renders. But the main difference is I think batch render have more quality than the screenshot for some reasons. For example, in batch rendering, light calculation are much higher than other type of things. So when I go and click on the renders in here, I can open them and you can see what really happened inside this. So this is the test render, and I don't want to talk about it. So we learn how we can use batch render for our renders. So I'm going to come back to the Enscape environment and start with Enscape scene number 1 in this case. So I'm going to click on the edit camera in here. First of all, I need to change my projection. In these type of angles, you don't need to create perspective. You need to create 2-point perspective. So I'm going to switch it to the 2-point perspective, and you can see we have some note in here which related to some type of calculative angles. I can rename it, for example, 01, coordinate 5.66, my eye height is 1.7 or maybe 1.6, something like that. I can see the grasses, textures, and all the details. And Z option is 19.78. I'm going to press enter, or maybe 70, something like that is much better. Pitch option. Look at these options in here. When I hold left click on my cursor and move my cursor, pitch will be increased for me. So it's the angle of your camera lens. So I'm going to minimize it in some place like that and type 10 degree, for example. Another option is the yaw option. When I hold left click, look at the right side, left side, yaw will be changed immediately for me. So I will fix it out in some type of good position, like maybe this is 10.6 and yaw is about 348 degree. I'm going to click on the save option. So camera 1 saved for me. Now I can continue my rendering. So I'm going to click on the save frame, click on the visual setting, move visual setting to some place like that, for example, and reduce the field of view. So it helps me to focus on the target that I want. I want to focus on some place like that. 64, I think enough for me. And now you can see we can't see the head of our house. So I need to edit my camera again. So it's completely related to your experience, and it's a tutorial, so I'm gonna use multiple numbers to teach you how you can use it in the better way. For example, 13.8 is enough. I'm going to click on the save option. Yeah, is not fixed. Save. Alright. I'm going to click on the visual setting in here. Now rendering will be a start for me. In this style option, you can change mode from the none mode to the white mode. White mode helps you to create some type of white glow rendering. And I think it's really useful for people who want to create some super realistic renders, or they want to test out their lighting. So I want to click on the scene number 1 again, visual setting. I don't need white mode. I'm going to click on the none mode in here. And if I turn off the auto exposure, you can see what really happens. So you need to manually adjust your exposure. But right now, I prefer to use automatic exposure. 56 is enough. If I turn on the depth of field, turn off the autofocus, play with the focal point, I can focus on my facade and building, and it's much better. So 16.16 meter is enough for me. And if I play with the depth of field, I can change the focus power in here. 11% is normal number for it. I want to use ultra rendering quality, and I need a little bit outline to create some majesty in my renders. So 16% is enough. I will click on the image bar in here, turn on the auto contrast. So as you can see, we can see all the details which related to interior and exterior shadows. So if I increase the saturation, you can see what really happened. And sometimes it can be useful, but if I increase it too much, your render will be destroyed. So try not to do this work. I think 102% is enough, and color temperature can be get a little bit warmer. For example, 5600 Kelvin. Effects are not really important because we don't create any type of animations. Bloom option is not really useful in here. I will talk about it in the next tutorials. So I will turn it to the 0. Vignette can be decreased in here. You know what is the vignette? The dark effect in your corners of your render. So I increase it, and you can see it's like the cinema rendering, but not useful in here. 26 is enough. Chromatic aberration is 4. And now I will go to the atmosphere. I will turn off the fog option to see all the details. Look at these landscape reflection on the mirror. If I increase the fog option, you can see what's really happened. It will fade it out. So sometimes you can use fog option, and I think it's really useful. If I increase the height of it, you can see what really happened. The reflect will be completely affected by these numbers. So I try to hold it on 36 meter, and fog intensity is about 6. So I'm going to click on the sun brightness, increase sun brightness as I can to some number like 88. Night sky is not really useful, and I need some soft shadows for some reasons. So if I increase it, look at these part of your job in here. When I teleport in here, you can see shadow sharpness, and I think it's not really good. And if I decrease it, we will have some type of faded out and soft shadows. So I try to hold some number like 66 for it. And artificial light was not useful, ambient bright is not really useful, and wind is not really useful. So I'm going to press F, scene number 1, like that. Click on the visual setting. Go to the skybox. Alright, now time for the clouds in here. As you can see, we can see clouds in the sky and reflect of them on these glasses which related to our facade design. So I'm going to reduce the density, variety, and cyrus amount, and now I have some clear sky. It's good, it's completely alright, but it's not realistic because most of the time we have some clouds in the air. So I need to increase cyrus amount for a small clouds if I want a small clouds. And for example 11. And if I increase the density, look at what happened. When I increase it to the 100, clouds will be cover all of these area. It's not bad, but maybe it's not set with this render. So try to manage it. 78% is good. Cyrus amount is about 6. And if I play with the variety, it will completely affect on the density. So density, variety, and cyrus amount, all of them work with each other. So try to hold it out. Variety is about 26%. I'm gonna play with the longitude and latitude. So longitude is related to the XYZ coordinate about clouds and movements. So if I play with the longitude, I can change the cloud's position. So it's really interesting. 7,900 meter can be useful for this render. And I will click on the output for the final job. You can change your resolution. I prefer to take some Ultra HD resolution. My file format is PNG. Portable network graphics or PNG have more quality than JPG. And you can use it in different type of softwares like Photoshop or Adobe Illustrator, and it's really helpful. So I think everything is done for me. I can reduce brightness a little bit or maybe reset it to see what happens. Something like that will happen. Final step related to our environment. So I'm going to click on the Enscape asset library in here. I have some problem with the environment as a matter of fact. So I'm going to click on the multi-asset placement. Click on the paint bucket selection and change the category to the vegetations. Use tags for easy search. So if I click on the tags, I can check out, for example, only trees. So trees will be show for me like that. And now I can select any of them which I like. So in this case, I want to use some type of not long trees, maybe something like that, have some good detail for my render. So I'm going to select this one. And now I can move my paints bucket selection in the Enscape real-time environment. So when I move it on the, for example, these texture or these grasses, all of them will be highlighted. So it means that it is pre-selected. So I'm going to select grass texture in here. And after a minute, you can see what really happened. We have seen some preview about these trees. And I want to use some multiple variations of these trees. For example, this one, elm tree, number 023. Maybe it's useful for you. And in here, we have some setting. In the selected assets, you can see what you selected for the bucket selection. In the density, you can decrease the density, increase the density, and sometimes we have some problems like this, so be careful about it. I try to hold some normal number like that. And if I change the distribution from random to the jitter mode or uniform, I can create some multiple shapes of these trees on my surface. So I prefer to use uniform. And if I click on the regenerate, it will replace these trees for me in different type of directions, something like that. And finally, I can increase the density again, and I can click on the confirm placement. So I want to click on the confirm placement to see what happened, and click on the apply changes. All right, it will applying all the models for us. and it takes a little bit of time because it depends on your network, because Enscape download objects on your 3D project. So I think maybe it's alright. As you can see in here, all the assets added to my environment, and I can see all the details, and I'm really satisfied about it. So I'm going to minimize Enscape in here as the last step of this tutorial, and I will remove this tree, or maybe move it. I think if I move it, it can be better, like that, and this one to this part of my job. And time for the rendering. So I'm gonna hold shift and right click, change the time of the day a little bit, maybe something like that is really nice. And I will hold Ctrl plus U and I, change the time of the day like that, and create my render. So I'm going to click on the screenshot in here, desktop, click on the renders, and save it as the another render, and press save. It takes a little bit of time, and after that Enscape realistic render will be generated for us. So I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. Thanks for your time, thanks for watching. If this tutorial is useful for you, please like and subscribe our YouTube channel and share it with your friends. Thanks for your time, and goodbye.